Welcome back to Boston has entered the chat. Let's bring him in. Boston columnist for The Athletic, Steve Buckley, our dear friend. He's family to the program. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us again.
I'm up early because I got to go to New York and do some baseball the next 3 days.
Okay, let's get into it. Look, you know where I'm going. I'll ask you about the series in the Bronx, but let's start with the regular season here. I mean, this team really, for my money, they overachieved. 89 wins in the regular season. Let's put a bow on that before we start talking Yankees. What do you sort of take away from this regular season with the Red Sox?
Well, when you say they overachieved, that's an interesting conversation because Alex Cora has been saying, nobody gave us a chance and everyone wrote us off. And well, that's not entirely true. If you and other writers, I'm just aping the words of other writers, but all the writers have pointed out the many prognosticators who picked the Red Sox to make the postseason, including myself. And The Athletic, we have a gazillion baseball writers, and I think 60-70% of them all have the Red Sox making the postseason. So I think Alex is correct. And by the way, I don't mind a guy that wants to use the media to inspire his players. That's an old tool in the manager's toolbox. Having said that, where I think he might be correct, especially with me, I wrote them off in July when they lost 8 of 12 after the Devers trade. I wrote it, and my exact words were, "This team is lost." And I think Alex is correct if he wants to focus on people who left him for dead in late July. That is correct, and they did make quite a turnaround.
Okay, now we go to the boogie down Bronx. Let's play a little fill in the blank here.
Okay.
The Red Sox win this series if?
The Red Sox win this series if they win Game 1 because they've got the ace. They've got and every team has a number one starter. Not every team has an ace. And I put Crochet in the Pedro, Schilling, Clemens. I mean, not in terms of career body of work, but in terms of where he is right now. Beckett in 07 being another one. Okay. And if they get, and he's had an extra day's rest, I believe the team that wins Game 1 wins the series, and they've got a stud out in the mound on Game 1.
Wow.
All right, so I generally agree with all of that. And this is obviously a Boston team that's 9-4 against New York, 5-2 in the Bronx this year. But are we, I don't know, taking the ace on the other side, Max Fried, a little bit for granted in Game 1?
No,
because
we're not.
I think he's in that category too this year.
Mm-hmm. But not to the level that Crochet is what I'm saying, and in my book. And what challenges the Red Sox, if you look at the Yankees offense, I think they have 10 guys with 10 or more home runs and 6 guys with 20 home runs, and obviously Aaron Judge is MVP candidate. There are no soft outs in that lineup. And every single batter that Crochet faces can knock it out of the yard. So that's going to be a challenge. But I am so impressed with Crochet this season. I know he had his little dips there a while back, but I'm very bullish on him right now.
Who do you trust as you sort of zoom out and look at the AL as a whole?
I trust you.
Yeah.
Me too.
You better aim higher. But look, for my money, right, I said this at the trade deadline. I think the Mariners are a really sneaky kind of playoff formulaic team. I just think with pitching, the offense they did pick up at the deadline, a couple guys I thought the Sox should have got, to be honest, but that's another topic for another day. I just think they have what it takes to maybe win a wide-open American League. As you sort of look at the American League as a whole, do you think the Sox can make a run here? Who do you sort of look at and think that team is dangerous? Is it the Red Sox? Is it the Mariners? Or is it otherwise?
The way to answer your question, the way you posed it, is to say that to use the old word, scared. I don't think anybody should be scared of any team. It's a wide open race this year. There are no 2018 Red Sox out there. There are no, the 99 Yankees. Pick any team of the last 25, 30 years, the Dodgers a few years ago. Pick any team in baseball that ran off to 100, 108 wins and then just knocked heads going into the postseason. That team doesn't exist this year. And this isn't to say any of these teams are bad, but it is to say that none of these teams is like, oh my God, avert your eyes, overpowering. And in a broken race like that, any team can win the whole thing. And it's like, if I had to pick a team based on what you just said, I'd go with the Mariners. Sure.
Okay.
They had a very good season. And you also have to take into account who's the hottest going into the postseason. Well, the Mariners are hot. The Yankees are hot. The Red Sox are hot-ish. The Guardians are certainly hot. So you got to look at those teams. Then you look at the Cincinnati Reds in the National League that lost its last game. That played okay down the stretch, but is only in the postseason because the Mets totally collapsed. So that's not a team I'd be banking on the postseason.
So, Buck, while we're all putting on our "04 Why Not Us" T-shirts and having this conversation about going on a run, for Boston in particular, and this is as relevant to the Yankees series as it is a long playoff run. Look, we all trust Crochet, and I think for the most part we believe in both Bayo and Giolito. So you're 1 through 3 in terms of your starters. Great. So what's the key ultimately to sustainability going forward? Is it reliability in terms of the pitching, or is it actually more about the offense and some of the inconsistencies we've seen there, absent Roman Anthony?
Well, a couple of things. It's the absence of the offense it's the offense absent Roman Anthony, who I talked to yesterday, and he's going to be down in Fort Myers rehabbing. They're only taking so many players to New York, and no one's saying anything, but I remember when he first got hurt, Cora was saying, we'll see him at game 1 of the ALCS. I'm not even sure that's going to happen, but moving on from him, because he's not part of the living as far as the roster goes right now. They obviously don't have the offense that the Yankees have, so they've got to get timely hitting. But I think something you didn't mention that's big with me is don't screw up. The Red Sox, their outfield defense, the Athletic has a really good breakdown of what each team's strengths and weaknesses are. And outfield defense is the best in baseball by far in terms of knocking runs off the scoreboard before they score. There's a more technical way to say that, but I'm not into all that stuff. Their defense in the outfield is good. Their infield defense is not very good. And Trevor Story, I don't know if you want to call it the yips, but there have been a lot of 6 throwing errors in September.
Yeah. And
they could lose this series because they make the kind of mistakes that they were making when they lost 8 out of 12 and things looked bad after the Devers trade. The base running errors, the infield errors, just the errors of omission, which they seemingly have gotten past in the last month, not counting the Trevor Story errors. So they need to play intelligent heads-up baseball.
Steve, sort of a big picture question with these Sox. One thing I've talked about on this show is I feel as though the championship window for this team is wide open now, and it really started this season. You remember when we started the interview here, the first thing I said was this team has overachieved in my mind. I think they're kind of ahead of schedule, to be honest with you, Steve. With this young nucleus that they have, we're poised for yet another big offseason, knock on wood that happens with this team. Do you see it the same way as me? Do you see this championship window being open now for this young nucleus for the next 4 or 5 or more years? Or is this team, you're just kind of looking at it in the moment, this is what they are right now? How do you sort of see big picture Red Sox for the next few years?
I agree with some of that optimism. When you say next 4 or 5 years, that's really tough in today's baseball. It's only 7 years ago they won the World Series. Nobody's left from that team. If you look at the 18 team, that was hugely different from the 2013 team. If you look at the 2013 team, except for Ortiz and maybe a few others, that was a completely different team than the 07 team. So you can win World Series, but you got to keep changing over your roster. Now, they do have a nucleus. If you want to count Christian Campbell as part of that, then there's Roman Anthony. They've got a lot of young players they've locked up for a long time. I think the big question is, it's going to answer that, what are they going to do with the Devers money? Are they going to take the money? And it was a salary dump. Let's not get around that. Because they got nothing that could help them for this year. So the Devers trade, in terms of player acquisition, didn't help them for this year. The answer to your question will be how they take the money they save from Devers and reinvest it down the road.
Buck, Boston's had a flair for the dramatic. We've talked about the dozen walk-off wins to lead the American League, obviously, most recently in that clinching game. And they love wearing those green jerseys. Seems like they always walk it off wearing those. But here in these playoffs, I think one thing that maybe we're not talking enough about is the inexperience that Boston has. Now, the manager has plenty, and he's had a great postseason career, 17-8, obviously that historic team in 2018. But the roster, Garrett Crochet, he's been in the postseason once. He was a reliever back then, not the ace that he is now. In terms of the position players, Alex Bregman's been in the playoffs every year of his career. He's a champion, 99 games. But, the NESN postgame show yesterday, after Bregman was showing that really limited, Nathaniel Lowe, 18 games. Rob Refsnyder, I think, has 1. Trevor Story, a handful. So there's a lot of first-timers going into a situation that, has the Yankees on the other side after going on a deep run last year with a lot of the same roster. How much does that matter right now?
It does. We can't dismiss that out of hand. The October spotlight burns hot, and every game is a national game. And it's and I think the ratings have gone up in baseball the last couple of years. There's a lot of pressure on these guys. However, if you're looking for some optimism here in this regard, I've been around the team the last week or so, and obviously follow the team all season, and I see a youthful swagger. I don't know what we're looking for here, but there's a certain thing about this team that they seem really into the spotlight. They're attracted to it. They're reaching for it rather than being the spotlight, it's too hot. These guys seem to revel in it, and I think that may help them down the road. Listen, there's no such thing as a baseball team where everybody loves everybody else. That's the same thing at every place of work. But these guys really seem to have something going on that can rise above the pressure of the October spotlight.
Buck, I see that too with this team. I think we all do. And we talked about this earlier in the show, AK and I, where they don't back down from a fight either. I mean, this is like a scrappy bunch of guys. I want to go back to something you said where you were talking about Garrett Crochet really embodying being an ace in this lineup and on this team. I'm curious, every time I talk to you, I have to ask like historical context because you've seen so many great players. What do you see with him, Buck? I mean, you put him in some rarefied air earlier just based on the position he's in with this team and how dependent they are on him. But what do you see when you watch him? What makes him special? Is there a comp? Have you seen him before in a player? Like, what do you see when you see Garrett Crochet historically?
It's the most polite way to be called old, isn't it?
Seasoned.
Yeah, it is. Really.
Seasoned.
Yes. Buck, you're so old and wise.
You're seasoned. You're seasoned, not old. You're seasoned. That's all.
He kind of reminds me of Smokey Joe Wood in 1912 when I was.
Sorry.
Actually, he's nothing like Smokey Joe Wood. He's twice his size. But no. Listen, there's two ways to look at it. You have to be careful when you make these comps, because if you say he's like Clemens in '86, Clemens was 24-4 when men were men and pitched 300 innings, and Clemens has a body of work that I can't get into this frame on my iPad. Pedro has there we go. Pedro has a body of work. These guys pitched for many, many seasons. As of right now, he's Josh Beckett, who has had that one big 07 season, and you would have thought in 07 that Beckett was going to have many more of those. Well, he didn't, and so the hope is that Crochet applies natural talent, financial security, and a ceaseless work ethic to build on the success of 2025 and not make it the apogee of his career, that there's a lot more there down the road. And so for the time being, I would call him an emerging superstar who has blessedly for this edition of the Red Sox has submitted an ace-like season.
All right, I'll let you go with this. Here's my prediction for the World Series. In the lowest rated World Series ever, Padres Mariners. Now, seam heads like us, that's good baseball, but I think your casual fan's going to be like, Padres, Mariners, no thanks, and turn that right off. What's your prediction for the World Series, my friend?
I'm going to go Mariners.
Okay.
I can't get away from the Dodgers. I know they didn't have nearly the kind of season that everybody thought, given all the greatness on that roster. But boy, there were some good players there, and maybe Kershaw, who's never had a good postseason record.
Yeah.
Maybe he puts it all together. In his final season, we saw him get a great ovation yesterday, his last regular season appearance, and. I think this won't be as lowest rated as the one you described, but you'd have two West Coast teams and people don't know them. But the Dodgers do have a lot of stars, so I'll go with Mariners Dodgers.
Buck, sorry, hang on. I know we got to let you go, but real quick, are we getting home games at Fenway in the playoffs here? Is this going to happen?
No. I because of what I said at the beginning of this little discussion. I'm banking everything on Crochet in game 1, which the Red Sox will win.
Yes.
And then all you got to do is play 500 on the road. That's win one of the next 2 games, and I think they will win one of those next 2 games.
October baseball, baby. Here we go.
How about Buck the Mystic? We appreciate you always getting up early with us, my friend.